Hey there, it's Trish from Dish Kitty Studio, and I decided I would try this all about my journals tag. So I have the questions written down, and I will get started. So, how many journals do I own? That's an interesting question. I have been keeping my daily journal for several years, and I have 13 volumes that are finished. I have a 14th volume here that I'm working on that I just started in the last couple of weeks. And then as far as blank unused journals, I have a whole big bucket full, and I would say somewhere in the range of 40. That's probably way too many. I don't even know if I can use that many in a lifetime, but I think probably about 40. So 13, 14 plus 40. When did I start keeping a journal? I started probably, I would say, doing it seriously and, actually committed to it probably about 4 years ago. How do I date entries? I always include the day of the week. I don't know why, but for some reason when I go back through and read old stuff, which I do on a pretty regular basis, it's important to me to know what day of the week it was. I don't know, that's just a thing. And I always include the full date, including the year, every single time. And that's maybe just like a weird quirk I have. How many different types of journals do I currently use? I would say on a daily regular basis, I use two. This is my daily journal, the one I was just talking about that I just started pretty recently. This is number 14 in the series that I have going. And this book I bought at Michael's. It's kind of a weird one. It's got, I don't know if you can see, but one page has lines, and then the facing page is blank. So that's kind of different for me. I liked it because it's a spiral, it's kind of a big size, and it has the closure, which I love because my journals tend to get kind of fat. So that one, and then I also have this book right here where I actually have the questions written. And this is just, this is by Miro. It's just a plain Jane white journal. It does have a closure, but it's got, the pages are cream colored and they're unlined, but it's got like a green around the edges, lime green, which I thought was kind of cool. But it's just a regular like unlined, let me show you some blank pages, just a regular unlined journal. The daily journal, I sort of, I'm sure you could see when I held it up, I usually draw pictures every day and write a little bit about my day. But this book is a little bit more fluid. This is where I talk, this is more like where I write my, my feelings, how I feel about things and what's happening. And there's also, I also have like some artwork in here. This one's a little bit more like whatever. The numbered journals kind of have a structure, and I do a page for every single day. But these are more, this one's just more like writing, and it's sort of just more like whatever. Like, see, here's a bunch of just doodles and paint and, like some watercolor stuff and markers and writing and stickers and just sort of whatever I feel like. And this one's a little bit more like emotion, like what's happening and how I feel about it. The number journals are more like sort of like just to keep the memory of what my days are like, and a little more factual, I would say, like this is what I did today and it was fun and here's a drawing and that kind of thing. Okay, now I have to get my book open up again to the right page to find the next question. Do I have a favorite brand? There was a book I have used in the past for my daily journal, where I draw pictures, in the structured one. I don't even know what I call these. I guess I just call these, usually I just call them my book, the daily book. This one is really more of a like legitimate journal, this one. But I used a book for my daily journal maybe a year or so ago. I bought it at Blick. there's not a Blick near me, but I was on vacation. I went into Blick and I found this really cool book, and it was called Render, R-E-N-D-R, and it's like no show through pages, so you're supposed to be able to use any kind of media on it, and it doesn't bleed through to the back page or any subsequent pages. And it was amazing. The paper was heavy. It was heavy enough, you know, to take all the media, but it also it really didn't bleed. I was very impressed. I used everything from Sharpies, acrylic paint, nail polish on some of the pages, and nothing bled. It was really incredible. I loved that one. So if I had a chance to get more of those, they're quite expensive. I want to say it was maybe like, you know, like an A5 size, like something like this, and it was probably like $20. And it didn't even have a ton of pages, so it was costly but worth it. I mean, if you do any kind of artwork, if you know, whatever, because even this book right here, like if I try to use my fountain pen on it, or you know, a marker with or a pen, even just an ink pen, like a rollerball that has kind of like it's dark, or the ink is a little bit wet, you know, you can see the shadow. Like here, you can see some shadowing right here, just from a black regular ink pen that was nothing. So the Render book was really, really nice. If you do use dark inks or fountain pens, or if you like to use different kinds of media, I would highly recommend it. Even though it's pricey, it's well worth the money. Do I ever write outside or take my journal with me? This book, yes, I take it with me pretty regularly. Like, for example, if I'm going to go meet a friend somewhere and, you know, I think that there's a possibility they might be late, I'll throw it in my purse so that if I'm bored and I'm just sitting there, I'll have something to do. This one, the daily book, I would say less. I don't take it with me on a daily basis anywhere. If I go on a trip, or if I'm going to be gone, you know, for a few days, I would take this one. But if I'm just kind of going out and about, there's a much higher probability I would have this book with me. Next, number 7. Do you keep an online journal? Yes, I actually do. I have a blog that I have kept for probably right about 12 years or so. You know, and I've kind of gone through phases where I used it much, much more often, and then not so often, but steadily, definitely for 12 years. And that, you know, that's another one that's more, it's kind of more like my numbered series of books. It's, you know, like a little bit more factual, like, oh, here's something really fun I did, and here's some cool pictures of it, and that kind of thing. But that's at trishasworld.com, and I'll put that link below so that you can check it out if you're interested. But so yes, I do have an online journal. Number 8, how often do you journal? I would say my daily book has, I definitely do a page for every single day, but I don't do it every day. I definitely touch this book every day, because even if I don't have time to really like make a whole page and write about what happened, I usually will take it out, at least open it up. I will use sticky notes a lot of times. I'll kind of like mark a page with a sticky note and sort of like, here's what happened today, and these are the high points that I want to make sure I get in here, and that kind of thing. So I do touch this book every day, but I wouldn't say I journal in it every day, even though it has an entry for every single day, if that makes any sense. Now this book, I would say every 2 or 3 days. Depends on what I'm doing, depends on what's going on and how much I want to kind of get out of my brain, and depends on many things, but I would say on average probably every 2 or 3 days. Question 9. Do you record your dreams, and if so, how? I do occasionally. You know, it depends on kind of how much of the dream I remember, and how much of an impact, I guess, it has on me, like how emotional it was, you know, how I feel about it. But if I do write about a dream, it's typically in this book, and I'll just sort of date it and write about the dream and what I think it means and why it bothered me, or why it was so great, or, you know, whatever it is I want to say about it. Question number 10. Do I prefer lined pages? Honestly, I prefer blank. I think that, I don't know, I feel like lines can sometimes make me feel trapped. I'm kind of a rule breaker, so I like to have the freedom of putting whatever I want on the page with nothing there to begin with. I have used lined books and they're fine. It's not like I hate them and I'm, you know, totally against them or anything. Like I said, this book right here actually has, you know, half the pages are lined and half are unlined. And that's fine. You know, I liked the book and everything else I liked about it was cool, so I'll deal with the lines. Big deal. But if I had, you know, if it was a perfect world and I could make the book that I wanted every single time, probably would not have lines. Number 11, do I ever censor myself? Yes, of course I do. In my daily book, most definitely. I think that I don't really know what, it's unclear to me what will become of these, you know, so far 13 and now number 14, what's going to become of them when I'm not here. I have no idea. I don't have children, so I don't really know who I'm writing this for except for myself, which is fine because I'm very happy to do it and it brings me a lot of joy to do it. But on the other hand, not knowing where they're going to end up, you know, I don't want to, I feel like I need to make sure that they're, I guess, clean. Does that make sense? They're the clean version of, you know, whatever's happening and whatever's going on. I don't really get super duper emotional in that book. Like I said before, it's a lot more factual as far as, you know, here's what my day was like, and, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, my day was crappy and here's why, and sometimes it's like, hey, my day was great and here's why, but I don't really get into anything super deep, if that makes sense. In this book, I do much more of that. Like, this is where I would write if I had something churning in here that I wanted to work out. It would be in this book, not that one. Number 12, do I ever name my journals? No, I haven't done that yet. I have never seen a need to. With my daily books, I do they're numbered. So I have, you know, volume 1, number 2. I don't even say volume. I don't know where I just came up with that, but number 1, number 2, number 3. So they are numbered so that I can keep them in order because obviously I've been doing it every single day for several years, so I want to keep track of how the progression goes. But in this book, no, I like any other books I have, I don't really number or name or anything like that. Number 13, if you have a reason, explain why you started. I actually do kind of have a reason. About 4 years ago or so, when I started, it was, oh, actually, I'm looking, my books are right on the other side of the camera. So my first book started March 1st, 2011. I was actually laid off from my job, I want to say in January of 2011, and I had a ton of time on my hands. I did not know how to fill it. That was a new thing for me, not working full time. And as I said, I don't have kids, so I was kind of struggling to sort of fill my time. I did some volunteer work and that was great, but even that was just part-time and I still had, I just had time on my hands. Right at the same time, a friend of mine was moving and she had an art table. And she wasn't going to take it with her, and she asked me if I wanted it. I didn't really do art. I like to color in coloring books occasionally. But I thought, yeah, why not? I have tons of time. Maybe I'll draw. I'm going to start drawing. I'm going to do art. So I took the table from her. It was a beautiful table, and it came with a little stool. And I set it up, and I went out, and I bought drawing pad, and I bought, some colored pencils, and I think I bought crayons, and I started drawing. And I really had no idea what I was doing. I looked at YouTube and I had a couple of books, and I just kind of, I mean, that's where it started. I started drawing, and of course, there's only so many things that you can draw. You have to sort of pull from your daily life, and that's what I started doing. So that's how this whole concept of these books was born. It was really out of boredom and, time. So I kind of just started drawing. I would draw what I did. I would draw what was happening. I would draw what I did, what my day was like. And I just kept doing it. And here we are, 4 years and 13 full books later. I have kept it up. It's incredible to me. And it started out as artwork, but of course, very quickly turned into writing because I wanted to kind of explain my drawings, especially because when I first started, they were not great. They looked like little kids' drawings, so I had to sort of narrate the artwork because it wasn't enough. People would look at it and say, "What the heck is this? I don't understand." So that's kind of where it started, and then after doing this for a while, and like I said, kind of censoring it because I don't know where these books are going to end up, and I want them to be, a good representation and not, super emotional. Although, I guess if I want them to be a true representation, they should be super emotional because that's what I am. But that sort of led me to writing in, more books like this, and actually getting out the emotions and the feelings that I wanted to get out. That this artwork and writing book wasn't hitting for me. Number 14, how has your style changed? I would say it changed. It changed pretty dramatically from when I started out. It was I was doing this book and it was very factual and it wasn't a lot of emotion. And again, then I had to go. I went outside of that whole book and got another book to kind of deal with my feelings and my emotions and all that kind of stuff. I think that's it. That's the end of the questions. So I would love to, I tag anybody that watches this video. I would love to have you answer these questions as well. And please let me know if you do. I'd love to see your video. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic day.